The good mother. There is a concept, a famous concept, that we hear very often to qualified motherhood, a concept that tortures many mothers. It's the concept of a good mother. And I would like to show here a little bit how, on one side, it's a meaningless concept, and especially the fact it's an impossible concept. It doesn't make any sense. And I would like to give different reasons why it's absurd, why it's impossible, an illusory concept. The first thing is that behind this concept of good mother, there's an idea of perfection, of striving for perfection. So the good mother never makes mistakes. Every gesture she does is fine and perfect. So what we would not expect from a woman to be perfect, we expect from a mother to be perfect, which of course is impossible. The second reason why it's absurd is that when you're a mother or parent in general, you have to do all the time opposite gesture. Sometimes you have to be rigorous, even harsh, rigid, but sometimes you have to be more flexible, more accepting, more warm. So you can always be criticized for being too much on one side or too much on the other. You're always too much on some side. And people watching you, depending on their subjectivity, they will accuse you of being too much this and too much that. And sometime on a similar action, you will hear very opposite comments that you're too much this or too much on the other side. The third reason why it's absurd is that there's always something you overlook, something you didn't do enough, something that you realize afterwards. Afterwards, maybe the day after, or afterwards, maybe when your children are grown up, and then you realize you didn't do something. Yeah, you forgot something. You made some mistake because you didn't pay attention to something. But of course, again, how could we pay attention to everything? That is an impossibility. And sometimes I see with parents who are criticizing themselves because they forgot this and they forgot that. They didn't pay attention to something. So you cannot not overlook something in the education of your children, right? The fourth reason that justifies or that feeds this bad mother concept is that children never become what we expect them to be. There's always some flaw, you know? And of course, mothers readily attribute themselves this flaw in the children. And they don't do it, somebody else will do it. The father, the grandparents, something, yeah? But of course, children are what they are. They are just imperfect as we are. And of course, we'll always have some kind of disappointment of some kind from the standpoint of career, from the standpoint of accomplishment, from the standpoint of feelings, from the standpoint of relation. So there's always something that does not fit what we expected. And that's life, that's normal, that's the arbitrariness of existence. But many mothers will say, it's because I didn't do this or because I did too much of that. The fifth reason is that this bad mother concept feeds on what we can call natural guilt, an ingrained sense of guilt, which does not need much to be exacerbated. And because mothers tend to be more than fathers, but fathers can do it as well, very connected to their children and the feeling of responsibility toward their children, very easily they feel guilty. So their judgment on bad mother tend to be very much, very excessively subjective, right? Their natural guilt is fed naturally with the idea that they didn't do the right thing, yeah. The sixth reason is that there are always people around you that do not agree with what you're doing, who criticize you just because they have other principles of education. And actually, somebody was telling me one of the easiest way to fight with friends is to discuss the education of children. Everybody has their idea about how to educate children, and you always find people that criticize you. And if you listen too much, I mean, you can listen to what people tell you, but you always have people that manage to make you feel guilty, to make you feel like you're a bad mother. Yeah. The seventh reason why we easily think we're a bad mother is because we have high expectations from our children. Yeah? We tend to idealize our children, and reality is never on the level that it should be, right? We see it with babies, how they're so wonderful, and we expect so much from them, then what they're gonna get a Nobel Prize or something. And when they grow, well, we get a lot of disappointments, and that's normal. That children, first of all, they don't have to fit our expectation. They are who they are. It doesn't have to fit our personal scheme. And they have flaws. There's certain things that they cannot manage to do. And that's normal. Right? We should not be surprised at that. But these high expectations, again, tend to feed the concept of bad mother, right? But lastly, I would like to say that good mother, bad mother is an expression that other people use either because they want the mother to feel good, so they tell her she's a good mother. We don't even know why, or that they're a bad mother. Often we don't even know why either. Just because they disagree or agree on some feature, it's a very subjective and rather meaningless attribute that are given to this poor mother, even though, like I said, sometimes people want you to feel good. They say, oh, you're a good mother. Yeah, we know it's a bit meaningless, even though it's pleasant to hear that. Yeah. So in other words, I like the idea that all mothers are bad mothers, like all fathers are bad father, but the relation to the child is generally more intense with the mother. Yeah. So the idea that there's no such a thing as a bad mother, no more there's such a thing as a good mother. There are just mothers who try to do what they can do, and of course sometimes we make mistakes, or things we consider mistakes, but who knows, right? So anyway, one should not think too much and pay too much attention to this qualification or of good mother or bad mother.